Why does everybody hate the new BMW M2?
Tyres.
So this is the new BMW M2, and like you, when I first saw the pictures, I thought, what the hell have they done here? Another new BMW that doesn't look right compared to the lovely old, beautiful M2 competition. I forget the Air4G number, whatever it was. I'm not that much of a nerd. But the fact is, I was wrong, and everyone else that hated it, you were wrong too. This is, and I don't use this word lightly, a sensational motor car. It might be one of the best all-rounders I've ever driven. So why is it so good? It's just a very, very talented car. It's a much better road car than the one it replaces. So all the keyboard warriors out on the forum saying this is dog shit are only doing it for one reason: to protect the residuals of their cars at the moment. I don't see why you could drive this back to back with an M2 Comp or even an M2 CS and deduce anything other than this is a much, much more competent car. I'll tell you why. The engine is more responsive. Okay, it's a bit flat sounding because they have to have all this special emissions, noiseless stuff going on, but the fact is it's got 450-ish horsepower, it's incredibly responsive, and it pulls like a bastard. There you go, demonstrating pulling like a bastard. That's, the numbers are rising quite quickly on that digital speedo thing, which we'll discuss in a minute. The steering is a bit inert, but it's very accurate. Traction is fantastic. The brakes are good. It's a fast, compact package with a manual gearbox, and you sit in just the right place. These cars aren't made by anyone other than BMW anymore, so we should celebrate that. The real talents, though, are in the chassis department. This is a sublime road car chassis. It's supported so well, so it's firm enough to feel that you can change direction and it feels like a sports car, but it's supple. This is quite a bumpy road. The car stays level, it's got exceptional wheel control. It's just a really, really talented car. And also, I suppose if you don't like the way it looks, when you're in it, you can't see the outside. So shut the fuck up, it's fine. Now, I had a couple of those old M2s, a Comp and then a CS. And I have to say, this manual gearbox is miles better than either of those because it feels like it was meant to be a manual from the start. So the way that you interact between your left arm and your left leg, you know, that sort of seamless connection between just working a manual gearbox, it is more intuitive in this car. It's an easier, smoother car to drive than either of those. That matters to me because I love the manual gearbox, which on the spec sheet says is a 500 and something pound option. So they charge you to have a manual gearbox over a DCT, which I do find odd. Now, the cabin. Okay, bear with me on the cabin. There is a slight issue, I'm going to demonstrate it now. I'm going to stop and do what I call an M2 adjustment. Now, if I just pull over here quickly, the seat isn't actually straight, it's offset, and you've got the old nutcracker here. So what happens is that the left of your manberries actually just gets caught on a ridge there. So you just have to give a tweak, get him out of the way, and there you go. That is something we'll miss in the future with electric cars. You won't have to untangle your testes from the seat in a Tesla in 5 years' time, but in a good old-fashioned BMW M car, you still have to do that, you see? We're still remaining in touch with the more base elements of motoring. No, it's a bit odd. It is offset, I'll give you that, but you sit low, and this optional carbon back seat is fantastic. You can sit in this thing for hours and hours, and your bottom will not fall asleep. How do I get on with the screen stuff? Well, you know what, it's not ideal, but like anything, once you learn it, it's absolutely fine. I hate the fact that I have to turn off the lane departure bullshit and the speed warnings, but that's just life. Apparently, if you have the app, which I don't have, you don't need to do that. But crucially, BMW still gives you a knob for your volume, and you can go forwards and backwards on a track. That's really all I need. The rest of it, I'm not too worried about. One area of discussion that I think is valid around the M2 is size and what constitutes an M2. It's a slightly nebulous way of approaching the subject, but to me this is more of an M3. This is the size that an M3 used to be. This is in many ways the logical successor to cars like the E46 M3. The back seats are miles bigger now. I've got children, so I really enjoy being able to put them in the back and not feel like I'm crushing them. On long journeys, this is so much more comfortable and less tiring to drive than the last M2. There's a lot less head toss, there's a lot less MVH, So you just get out feeling fresher. It's got a fantastic hi-fi, the aircon's brilliant, all that jazz. It works superbly. But a lot of people think that that's somehow detracting from what an M2 should be, that it should somehow be a raw road racer. I just think that's bullshit. Why do you want to be uncomfortable for the sake of being uncomfortable? This is a better car to drive and it's more comfortable. You can do both. Now, if you look at the specification of this vehicle, I've already mentioned it because it begins with a 7. That's right, a 7. It has something called an M track pack for, wait for it, sit down, £6,600. If a car's got a track pack that's worth as much as a normal car, then you have to go and drive it on a track, don't you? We get 19, 20-inch wheels, these beautiful carbon bucket seats, a load of special trick stuff you can play with on the ESP and the traction control. But fundamentally, I just want to drive it around here because I reckon this is a fantastic motor car to drive on a circuit as well. I've driven it at Goodwood before. It's my first time here at Landau. Let's see what it's like. Okay, brakes, good. Good, strong brake pedal. Are there any steels on this? No ceramics for 70-something grand. Seems a bit mean to me. Steering, it's got a very thick steering wheel rim, which I don't think is ideal, but you know what? I don't reckon an M car's had really, really great steering since maybe the E36 M3 Evo. We're going back that far. We're going back to mid-90s. So E46 M3, bit blunt really, and this it's no different. It's, you know, it's steering, it's accurate. I like holding the wheel. I don't have much more to say about it. So the engine, inline 6, quite a bit of turbocharging, 450 horsepower-ish. Look, you know the recipe. It's nothing that stand out, and because of all the emissions regulations and the fact that it can't make too much noise anymore, it's not the centerpiece of the car, perhaps, that you'd expect, but my lord is it impressive in terms of response. People are going to tune these things to buggery. They're going to give them 500, 600 horsepower, but you might lose the way it's been mapped by the factory, which is just wonderful because it's got so much. It's got so much response. You find yourself in 3rd and 4th gear booting it thinking, blimey, O'Reilly, that feels like I'm in 2nd. There's the torque. I've got to behave because I don't have an awful lot of rear tyre at the moment. We will deliver the obligatory slidey bollocks, but for now, let's concentrate on the dynamics. So, we've got really good brakes, we've got very accurate steering that's lacking in some feel, but frankly, most cars don't have much steering feel anyway. We've got a chassis that's very wide of track and is providing a huge amount of grip. Mechanical grip is really high, and this is on a normal Pilot Sport tyre. Traction, really, really good. Because this is the area of the M2 that I want to talk about, it's the chassis. There's something going on at M. They have discovered something in terms of springs and dampers that they didn't have before. It's so impressive. I can pile it over curbs and it just rides them. Now, let's turn some buttons off completely and see if we can apply some traditional BMW M angles. DSC off.
I didn't quite understand you.
Will you fuck off? Are you going to help me slide behind this corner? No, go away. Stupid person. I don't want an M drift analyzer because it spells analyzer, and that isn't right in a car. We don't need any of that here.
Searching for anal eyes.
Fuck off! Drifty, drifty, slidey, slidey. How does it work then? So we've got loads of torque. Yes, it's a BMW. It does all the slidey stuff quite brilliantly. I mean, it's so composed and so well balanced. I mean, it should come as no surprise that a BMW M2 likes to slide, but to confirm that Catholics like shitting in the woods or other mixed metaphors, the M2 slides like a doozy. adjustment. Sorry about that. I like this car. Do you know what? I think I like this car even more because other people don't like this car. Okay, the thorny issue of weight. I've got a very, very simple answer for this. A number on a piece of paper is meaningless if you don't feel it on the road. And this car doesn't feel 1,700 something kilograms to me on the road. It just doesn't. It rides so well. It changes direction so well. I mean, you could drive an E30 M3 in many ways that's 500 kilograms lighter and you'd think it was heavier than this car. You just don't feel the mass. Ultimately, it has massive brakes to stop it, but it's not like it won't stop. Maybe stopping an ultimate really fast direction changes, you feel a bit of mass, but I just don't feel it. Modern chassis engineers are magicians. They have such tools at their disposal that they can make these things cheat physics. So as far as I'm concerned, it's just a number on a piece of paper. I just don't feel the weight. And if you don't feel it, it doesn't matter. If you love your driving and you want to remain rear-wheel drive and manual for as long as humanly possible, this is the car for you. And as for the looks, right. When I first saw it, I thought it looked like some weird geometric blobby shapes that had been sort of heaved over some small wheels that were lost in massive wheel arch cavities. And it didn't look right. I think, as ever, the BMW press shots were almost deliberately shit, so that we then were allowed to build a relationship with this car that would improve. I think they do it on purpose. I think BMW deliberately takes terrible shots of their cars initially, so then we begin this process of admiring the styling. And it's the same with this. It's been parked outside my house for several months, and the people that laughed at it to start with are now going, actually, it does look quite good, doesn't it? Okay, it could do with being a bit lower. I'm sure there'll be a lower one coming. The black wheels don't work at all, they should be silver. If you could pull them out to the sides of the car a bit more, it would work. But I love it. Why is it that when Alfa Romeo makes the SZ, we think it's a hero car and we celebrate it, we call it a Monstro? But if the Germans do it, we just think it's shit. I was guilty of that, and I'd like to apologise to BMW for getting it wrong.